You know, we've all been there. You see a deal online, you shake on a price for something, you click buy. But when does that moment, that little action, actually become a legally binding contract? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig in and figure out when a deal is really a deal.
So picture this. You're just scrolling online and suddenly you see it. A brand new TV listed for 49 pence. I mean, that's an incredible bargain, right? You smash that add to basket button and check out as fast as you can. But here's the question. Does the store actually have to sell it to you for that price?
Or how about this one? You're buying a used car. You haggle a bit with the seller, you finally agree on a price, and you shake on it. Is that handshake enough to seal the deal, legally speaking? Or can one of you just walk away? Well, the answers to all these questions boil down to two really simple but super powerful legal ideas: the offer and the acceptance. Think of them as the two essential building blocks that have to click together perfectly to create a contract. Understanding them is everything. Now, what's really fascinating here is how the law figures out if an agreement was even made. It doesn't try to be a mind reader. As the legendary judge Lord Denning famously said, the law uses what's called an objective test. It doesn't care what you were secretly thinking, it looks at what you actually said and did. So, let's start right at the beginning. Before any deal happens, somebody has to kick things off. But, and this is a big but, not every opening line is a formal offer. This brings us to a really crucial distinction: the difference between an actual offer and something called an invitation to treat. An offer is very, very specific. It's a clear signal that you're ready to be legally bound by certain terms, right here, right now. All it needs is for the other person to say yes, and boom, you've got a contract. But an invitation to treat, now that's a different beast entirely. It's more like saying, hey, I'm open for business, why don't you make me an offer? It's not a commitment at all. It's just the start of a conversation, an invitation for offers to start rolling in. So here's a simple way to think about it. An offer is definite. I will sell you this car for £5,000. An invitation to treat, on the other hand, is just testing the waters. So, are you interested in my car? One is ready to become a contract, the other is just talk. You know, there's a classic case that perfectly illustrates this: Fisher v. Bell. A shopkeeper put a flick knife in his window with a price tag on it. Now, at the time, it was illegal to offer these for sale, but the court decided that the display in the window wasn't an offer at all. It was just an invitation for customers to come inside and make an offer to buy it. And the same logic, believe it or not, applies pretty much every time you go shopping. Think about a supermarket. All those items on the shelves, that's just an invitation to treat. When you, the customer, take those items to the checkout counter, you are making the offer to buy them. The contract is only formed when the cashier takes your payment. That is the moment of acceptance. Okay, so most ads, most displays in shops, they're just invitations. But there is this fascinating exception to the rule called the unilateral offer. This is where one person makes a promise not to a specific individual, but to the entire world, asking people to accept by performing an action. And you just can't talk about this without mentioning the legendary carbolic smoke ball case. A company advertised this product, claiming it could stop you from getting the flu. They were so confident, they promised a £100 reward to anyone who used it correctly and still got sick. And to prove they were serious, they even put £1,000 in a bank account. Well, you can guess what happened. Poor Mrs. Carlyle used the smoke ball, she got the flu, and she demanded her money. Now, the company tried to argue it was all just marketing fluff, puffery, but the court looked very closely at the ad's specific words. By stating a £100 reward will be paid, they had made a very clear, very public promise that was tied to a very specific set of actions. The court didn't buy the company's excuse, not for a second. They ruled that the advertisement wasn't just an invitation. It was a unilateral offer made to anyone and everyone. And Mrs. Carlyle accepted that offer by doing exactly what the ad asked. She bought the ball, she used it, and, well, she got sick. The company had to pay up. So, let's say we have a clear offer on the table. But what happens if you don't accept it exactly as it is? What if you try to tweak the terms, even a little bit? Well, this is where the counteroffer comes in, and trust me, it has a deadly effect on the original deal. Let's break down another classic case, Hyde versus Wrench. Wrench offers to sell his farm for £1,000. Hyde replies, how about $950 instead? Wrench says no. A little while later, Hyde comes back and says, okay, fine, I'll take it for the original £1,000. But by then, Wrench had changed his mind and refused to sell. And this is the absolute key takeaway here. The court sided with Wrench. It ruled that Hyde's counteroffer of £950 wasn't just a new offer, it was an outright rejection of the original £1,000 offer. It killed that first offer. Stone dead. You can't reject something and then change your mind and try to accept it later. It's gone.
All right, so we've covered how offers get made and how they get destroyed. Now, for the grand finale, what exactly does it take to properly accept an offer and lock in that legally binding contract?
The big one to remember here is what's called the mirror image rule. It's pretty straightforward. A valid acceptance has to match the terms of the original offer exactly. It has to be a perfect reflection, a mirror image. The second you change anything, the price, the timeline, any detail at all, it stops being an acceptance. It becomes a counteroffer, and you're right back at the start.
And how you communicate that acceptance really matters too. For old-fashioned mail, there's something called the postal rule. The deal is made the second you pop that letter in the post box. But for instant things like email, the receipt rule applies. The deal is only sealed when the other person actually receives your message in their inbox.
Oh, and one last thing, and this is a big one. Silence is not acceptance. Someone can't just send you an offer and say, if I don't hear from you by Friday, I'll assume we have a deal. Nope. You can't be forced into a contract just because you didn't reply.
So, we've gone through some pretty old cases, but the principles are more relevant than ever. How does all this actually apply to your life right now? Let's bring it all home. Remember that 49p television? The website listing is just an invitation to treat. Your order is the offer, and the company is totally free to reject it. The stuff on a shop shelf? ITT. You make the offer at the till. That final offer email for a job with all the details? Yep, that's a real offer. And your reply saying, sounds great, but can we move the deadline? You just made a counteroffer and killed their original proposal. So next time you click buy, bid on something online, or even accept a friend request, just think about this whole framework. Now that you know the rules of the game, take a look around. Where in your digital life do you see these invisible offers and acceptances happening every single day?